Okay, so today is the last Harmony workshop of this season, of this cohort. And today is Creation Stories with Genealogy Resources. Today we're going to be going over some unknown things about Canada in regards to Canadian slavery and also some of the camps that existed here in Canada as well. And I'm only talking about a few, I'm not talking about them all. I think that we should have this discussion as the last closer up for this in particular, just because this is something that genealogy wise is in our timeline and has affected a lot of people's lives. It's affected many people, left many people disenfranchised. Many people, their families have been shattered because of these consequences. So, this has a lot to do with ancestry and people being able to reclaim their identity and getting to know themselves. There's a lot of people that have been ended up in foster care because of a lot of things that we're going to be speaking about today. And they don't know where they come from, but this particular workshop can actually kind of give some clues to where some of those people actually derive from and where they come from. Um, but we'll get into that. Before we get into that, I want to cover some housekeeping things. Make sure you guys go check out my music, go stream it. It is on all platforms. I will be introducing Red Mirror Radio, which will be my AI music. And that is where I write into the prompts on Suno to create a beat. And then after I create a beat and I make sure that the beat it works for me, then I go ahead and I add a freestyle of lyrics to it. So this is a really cool tool because I'm able to exercise my freestyling skills, not just my writing skills, but my freestyling skills and my producing skills, but also in order to do this successfully, you have to have a really good ear for what the AI is bringing. Sometimes you have to start the AI off 2 minutes after the instrumental is done, or you have to start it off right at 4 seconds, right? So it really takes a good ear to start navigating these beat selections. Okay. And also really good prompts as well. Thank you to Morgan. Shout out to Morgan for giving me some amazing prompts. The other day, I sent him some of my AI songs, and he sent me some prompts that actually really made it more immersive and catchy. That those were a few words that he helped me put in the prompts. But our website, amethystlist.wordpress.com. That is all things Amethyst Maris. That's where you're going to find the merch, the lyrics. We're going to have a VR reality art gallery on there. My music is going to be moved over there soon, going along with my lyrics. When you look at my lyrics, you'll see there's a YouTube link, but what we're actually going to do is input the music itself on there, and people will be able to purchase albums through my website. Tropic of Qualia, Tropic de Qualia is the AI website. That's tropicofqualia.wordpress.com. And that is mature audiences only. Panacea Cafe, the blog, the WordPress, and the Facebook page. Make sure you guys go check that out. Everything that we talk about in these workshops, especially pertaining to colonialism and mass migrations or forced migration, has been covered since 2013 on Panacea Cafe as an introspective tool, but most importantly, an identity tool for individuals. Okay. I can't believe we're here. We're on the last workshop. Um, I'm excited. Let's get started on this particular one. See, a lot of these ones will have like a little AI generated warning and then you won't see any AI in it. And the reason being is because photos like this, if I incorporate this photo, then I have to claim the whole thing is AI. So that's really great. Okay, but this is a very, very real workshop. Okay, guys. So here is who we're doing this for. Uncle Butch's hat over there. But we got some more people, of course, but this is who this ancestry course is about. All of these people and more so have taught me so much about my identity and myself. And like Terry Swan, my elder last year, said that when you reach back into your creation story, you get to know these people. And this is what really inspired this workshop is you get to know your generational curses. Okay. And when you know those things, then you can start to tap into the curses that you're dealing with within your life, right? But a lot of people are so disenfranchised. And we learned about that over this month. We've learned about people being pulled away because of colonialism, people being taken away from their homelands and everything like that. And that dispersion and the survivors of genocide, what happens then next for those individuals, right? And we are living in a country and a continent where it is an active one against us as people of color and people of different faiths as well. So I want us to kind of call awareness as creatives. We spoke about in these workshops creating something called positive propaganda. So that means that we have to start bringing these things into conversation, bringing these things into light. We have these platforms. We have such an amazing ability for people to see us, to get to know us, and to hear us. And people are listening to us as artists. That's why in my music, I will always incorporate this messaging, even when it goes to my AI music. Just even the other day, I like wrote a lyric saying like, I made more money this week than I made my whole stint. There's still dirty water in Flint. Okay, like as simple as that. When people hear it, they're gonna be like, wait, it's Flint, Michigan? Like, it doesn't have to be the concept of the song. The song can have its own topic, but just squeezing those little bits and pieces in there of information for people to actually hear and be like, wait, what did she just mention? When I was growing up, musicians did that all the time. Okay. I guess it doesn't happen that much anymore. And a lot of people are thinking more so about melody. So many people are thinking about interpolating other people's music and stuff like that. Um, People are paint celebrities and stuff like that. And they're not actually, painting or doing creative things that is oriented towards the well-being, the betterment of man, the betterment of all, So um, I want to call a lot of things to awareness, and that's why we're doing these particular workshops. Today, I'll look at questionable actions in Canada. Okay, and I want to make sure my sound is on here. Make sure I'm sharing my sound. The other day, because I had so many hiccups and my internet literally kept cutting in and out. What ended up happening was I wasn't properly able to navigate one of the videos, and it literally clipped and clipped and made a chunk of the video. Normally, I pause my videos a little bit and I talk in between, but because it cut out my parts where I was talking in between, and what gave me a copyright. So when I do these videos, I'm going to try my best to play them through as much as possible, pause as much as possible, have them sped up, because these are really, really important videos that we're going to be talking about. Okay. And these are very, very important things that we're going to share. Trigger warning: the following content discusses the history of slavery, including the enslavement of Indigenous and African peoples, the transatlantic slave trade, and the treatment of various enslaved groups. These topics can be distressing and may evoke strong emotional responses. Viewer discretion is advised. Now, I know this is the last workshop. I should have incorporated this in all of my workshops, because glimmers is something that I truly do bring to light as well. We've spoken about it on my blog, Panacea Cafe, and the Instagram page. Glimmers is basically the opposite of a trigger. And next time for my next cohort of workshop, I'm going to make sure I always include a glimmer with the trigger, so you guys can know what you're gaining, not just what it might could be jarring. I want you guys to also know what you can gain from being able to watch this, so that you can truly navigate like, I know it might be a little bit jarring for me to watch this, but you know what, I can learn so much by doing this, and that might be motivation that can help you over this hurdle. Okay. Glimmer. While confronting the painful history of slavery, we also recognize the incredible resilience and strength of the communities that endured these hardships. By understanding and reflecting on this history, we can honor the stories of those who suffered and celebrate the enduring spirit of their descendants. This awareness empowers us to foster a more inclusive and just society, acknowledging the importance of every individual's heritage and contributions. In doing so, we not only pay tribute to the past, but also build hope and solidarity to the future. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you this video first, and I'm going to show you this one first, and then the next few ones, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. One of the things is I do not have I guess the word would be somebody that is like a revisionist. I'm not. Um, when I was growing up and I went to school, there was particular terms that were in our textbooks when we were kids. I was in grade 8 when this occurred, okay? I was also in a group called Students Together Against Racism. So I was actually one of the people that started to point out certain things. When I was in grade 6, I had a petition in order to teach Black history. I have the paperwork to show it. I had a petition to teach Black history, Canadian Black history in the schools, and I had people tell me it would never happen, and it's something that's currently happening in the schools. So, and I quit Students Together Against Racism because I realized white people could not stop being racist. I couldn't justify being within the group, and I was climbing up in the ranks of it. Like they had put me really in charge of a lot of work within the school, you know. I have my certificates to prove it, y'all. But one of the things that we did was we noticed that the textbooks had very derogatory terms. And so the school boards decided that they would have to change it, but they didn't have enough money to replace the books. So they requested for us as the grade 8 students to go ahead into the textbooks and white out all of the racist words that were referring to Inuit people in a derogatory way. And it was referring to Black people in a derogatory way. And we literally had to witness in our faces that the people that were teaching us from books that were derogatory, that made us little, that used the wrong terms. And one of the things that we're going to learn as we keep going, and I noticed while I was researching this, and it was actually just sickening because we've talked about this with the workshop with Tavis in regards to the genocide of the dark skinned Indian, that there is this conversation on Afro Canadian, Afro Indigenous, African American. And the thing is, okay, African American aside, okay, there are African Americans. But when we say Afro Indigenous, what we are plighting is that we are dealing with an individual that is mixed with Native and African, okay? They had an African ancestor and a Native ancestor, okay? What if there was no African ancestor? And when we go ahead and we talk about Nova Scotia, even in some of the videos that I found, the people were saying the tribes wrong when they were describing, like, I couldn't even show all the videos. I couldn't put all the videos in the presentation, even though there was certain information that was supportive. It was, they kept using this language over and over again. I'm going to put these videos in here because I'm not biased and I'm not trying to revise anything or to correct what these people said because they wholeheartedly believe these things. This is the education that they have. But as you guys have seen, we are radical thinkers here. We do our research a little bit differently. And we also get to have the fortitude of we're not doing this research based on a fact that we don't know because we aren't it. Okay. If my grandmother has been telling me this entire time she's Mi'kmaq and she took it to the grave saying that, and she's Nova Scotian, but you're telling me that she's Afro Indigenous because she's darker skin, that's the problem. These are the things that are erasure. You're speaking on my family at that point. To a lot of these historians that we're going to see, they're not speaking on their own families. They're just speaking on a doctorate that they got of research. And that's why I really do respect the ones that we do see have done a lot of research, and then you see that they start to change their language around because you can't deny when you start to look in your family tree and we start to look at this paperwork and we realize where these people really come from and we realize where we can't trace these people from. I find it all the time. I end up reading comments on things, having to express it because it's hurtful that these people are referring to my family. Nobody else's family. They're not their own family. It's literally my family. And the thing is they're speaking about my family from Oklahoma. They're calling them they're saying that they're freedmen, they're mixed with this, or that they were enslaved by them. And that's all the only connection is that because they were enslaved by them, then they're Africans that were enslaved by natives. So, there is so much misconceptions. And the thing is, these misconceptions did not just start with these generations, okay? I want us to look at it historically that there was ones called color, ones that were called Negro, ones that were called Aborigine. As we look through our paperwork and these presentations, we're going to see that the phrasing kept changing and the mind state of the people by the time we got to the 1900s they were confused themselves. They didn't know themselves. There was only a few of them within that collective that had the awareness. Like I can say for my grandfather, he had his awareness. He knew where he came from. But my grandma that he was married to, she would say certain things, but her family was in straight denial about it. They just called themselves free persons of color. They didn't refer to themselves as anything else. And they were very much detached from what they actually were. In that, when we take the family back, we can see that we haven't been able to take anybody back to Africa. We've only been able to take them back to Turtle Island. Okay. And when I'm saying take them back, I'm talking about being able to take people back to the 1500s. And then you realize that these people have been taken back to the 1500s and they're being taken back to prominent Creek, Muskogee, Yamasee, and Choctaw, Cherokee. You're taking them back and back and back into different people, tribes that we don't even recognize federally. Okay. So we're going to now get into this topic. I want to start talking about Canadian slavery. In my own family, I even when I speak to my aunties who are extremely, extremely educated, very, very smart, they will say things like, well, no, we only had an indentured servants, and which is not true. When I actually did the paperwork for my Nova Scotian family, and my grandma mentioned to me that James Mentis is actually the child of Thomas Patillo Starr. When I looked up Thomas Patillo Starr, I found that he was married to a particular woman in the Starr family and that they owned several slaves all throughout Canada, all throughout the Americas, all throughout the islands and everything like that, all the way down to Brazil. And so you can see the family's paperwork and you can see their trail of this. And you can see that these people would bring them all across. So again, these were not indentured slaves, indentured servants, apologies. These were slaves, okay? There's a big difference. So we're going to talk about that difference today, and we're going to be talking about timelines and stuff like that, okay?
Flames are extinguished. 45 buildings have burned down. The entire Merchants Quarter. Everything you see around me, ashes. The Hotel Dieu, one of North America's very oldest hospitals, is consumed by the blaze. The nuns who run it.
Okay, so this one is going to be about, here we go. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, give you a little context. So one of these slaves burnt down
We had more than our fair
in
share of
Montreal.
it. More than 4,000 people were enslaved in New France and the British colonies before the practice was finally abolished.
For people that don't have reference, New France means Quebec. Something that's really important that we have to continue to do is look at your old maps when you're doing your genealogy.
Slavery up here looked quite a bit different than it did on the southern plantations of the 13 colonies. In Canada, the enslaved were usually confined to urban areas, forced out to the elites. Many were black, taken from overseas or south of the border, while many others
Do you
were
hear what
called
he said? He said,
Indigenous
taken from the east or south of the border.
people captured in battle and then
And
made personal property.
Canadiana is a really, really, really great educational tool on YouTube. And this is why I didn't have to put this disclaimer for his video because he's actually using the right language. He has amazing videos and he does not discount the darker skin indigenous people and he does not erase them when he speaks about them.
Angelique was originally from Madeira, but forced into slavery. She was sold to a Montreal couple when she was just a young woman. She was bought by François Poulain de Francheville and his wife Thérèse, who lived here on the Rue Saint-Paul, just across the street from the Hotel Dieu. Angelique's life in Montreal was unsurprisingly horrific. The Francheville's were even suspected of forcing her to carry the children of another black slave. All three of her babies died within months of their birth.
Now, like, think about that. Why would they do that? Okay, like, why would they do that?
But at the end of 1733, there was finally some good news. A smallpox epidemic. It killed hundreds of people in Montreal, including François Poulain de Francheville. Angelique had been promised her freedom upon François' death, possibly a twisted bargain made as part of years of sexual abuse. There was finally some light at the end of the tunnel.
In Montreal.
Still one person standing in her way, the widow Francheville. She wasn't about to let Angelique go. She wanted to get her money's worth. Angelique fought back. She demanded her freedom and seems to have threatened the widow with burning and roasting. But the widow Francheville still refused. Instead, she was going to sell her. So Angelique began to plot an escape with her lover, a convict named Claude Thibault. He was a smuggler from France who had been arrested and exiled to Canada, where he ended up becoming the widow's indentured servant.
Okay. White man, indentured servant. He was exiled. Okay. So when we're having people that are exiled, we got to kind of have to look at their status, because not all exiled people become indentured servants. Some people that are exiled with money, as we would see with the Sephardic Jews in the 1500s when they were exiled from Spain, that they brought a lot of slaves with them, but most importantly, and I would be saying that they brought Moors as the like darker skinned slaves, not African slaves. Because from the paperwork, I have not been able to trace that proof. I've only been able to trace that it was either the darker skinned Huguenots or the darker skinned Moors by resources. Okay. So we only go based on what we've been able to actually find proof of. Okay. Nothing else. And one of those things is they would be sent over and say, for like Rivers, for example, is one of Riviera is one of the family names. And that particular family name is, some people in my family have these names, right? And they went and then they went to here, Quebec, they went to Rhode Island, and then when they moved around these places, then they went and took darker skin Pani or Pawnee, darker skin Indigenous, and this could be as well lighter skin as well. But this was very prevalent in the North. This was something that was pushed over because we talk about the Underground Railroad and all these things, but we do not get to talk about these nuances of slavery. So, like I said, this is more so in regards to next videos going forward. This is really a letter of just kind of what I was explaining before when I said that these particular videos that we're going to watch and some of the context that we have is we really, really got to do better, in Canada when it comes down to things that we're using when we're educating. Okay. So my elders taught me that terms like African Canadian or African American are often incorrect and hurtful when referring to dark skinned Indigenous peoples whose roots trace back to South Carolina, and the river is where prominently most darker skinned Indigenous people come from. This particular type of people that we're speaking of. Okay. Extensive research supports this, and it is crucial to use accurate and respectful terminology. Diverse origins. Acknowledge the diverse origins of enslaved individuals, including dark skinned Indigenous peoples, Africans, Filipinos, Huguenots, and various Indigenous tribes from Europe and the Americas. Like I was saying with the Moors, one of the things that I found was even looking within European history is they also had darker skinned people, but they, committed genocide on them too. Okay. Historical accuracy. Ensure educational materials and media reflect the complex history of slavery in Canada, including the roles of the fur trade, the enslavement of Indigenous peoples, Patnese. Okay, that's what the French referred to as the Indigenous slave. Okay, that's what they would call them. And the experiences of the Filles du Roi, okay, who married both settlers and Indigenous fur traders. Okay, ongoing research, recent findings like those from Ancestry, where we spoke about people are now able to access the information that's available on the Ancestry without bias, because now it's literally an AI able to pinpoint certain information that you couldn't track before, couldn't find before, right? And now this information is readily available to us. Now we know a few things, right? So challenge long held beliefs. Continual exploration of our history is essential. Okay. We have to stop coming up with conclusions. This is the most important thing. Okay. When we use indicative terms, we are coming down to conclusions. And in order to come down to conclusions, you got to be very, very arrogant to think that you know everything. Okay. Um, there's certain things that we need to leave a little bit more open ended, and we can't, you know, uh, be so, again, indicative of inclusive narratives, promote narratives that include and respect the experiences of all enslaved peoples rather than generalizing or simplifying their histories. Evidence and research. Old school historians often perpetuate the African narrative without considering extensive archaeological proof and evidence of dark-skinned indigenous peoples. My prior presentation with Tavis Sanders and on my YouTube channel discusses the genocide of darker-skinned indigenous people. Many channels, including Indigenous Education, that's Tavis and his mother, Renee Sanders, provide valuable insights into this history. And again, there are lots and lots and lots of educational videos on YouTube. Please take everything with a grain of salt and do your own research, right? By addressing these points, we can honor the true stories of those who suffered under slavery and celebrate the enduring strength and contributions of their descendants. Let's strive for historical accuracy and cultural respect in all educational efforts. You guys, this is CBC documentary. I left a comment on here, and I understand they're getting historians and they're bringing people in, but there is a real issue here that like I really found in all the videos that I watched is this push. It seems almost deliberate. Like it seems very deliberate, and people don't know that they're perpetuating the colonial work in action. So we got to be very, very careful of these things. Okay.
Canada call upon the government of Canada to apologize for Canada's role in the enslavement of African people.
Vanessa Fells is a leader in Halifax's historic Black community.
The petition starts by talking about...
This is her second petition, wanting Ottawa to apologize for centuries of slavery in colonial Canada.
Apologies like that have happened in the past.
And then you link it right to today, systemic anti-Black racism exists in Canada today.
Absolutely, because there is a direct link between the enslavement of African people and policies and practices that were created that we now call systemic racism.
200.
And one of the things that I want to be able to do when because I'm going to be going to Nova Scotia. My grandmother passed, and one of the conversations that me and her had a few years ago is that I would not go to Nova Scotia until she passed, so that she could be with me, because she could not travel anymore by the time that we had this conversation. And there's a lot of things that I have to kind of do when I go over there. But again, there is this plight of getting an apology done. But something that Tavis really brought up that was, oof, it's gung ho, baby, where it literally goes into the fact that you have these people. Look at the word Negro boy. Okay. Remember what we said, that it literally does not have to be
years of slavery. Men, women, and
African
children
for them to use the word
dehumanized.
Okay. And again, this is a very great video. It's a very educational video. Shout outs to all of the amazing women and different individuals that contributed to this really great video. I watched all of these ones. I'm going to leave them all in the caption below, but to also now spread on it, let's think about this. What Tavis said when he told us, if we go ahead and we try to apply for rights and we're trying to apply for it as African, no wonder they haven't been trying to deal with us, because you're not. And you actually have more rights because you are not. You are indigenous. This is your land. Okay. They have fooled us. Okay. The anti-Black racism lies in the fact that you guys are being anti-Black to indigenous folks. Okay. So again, there is lots of, we're not negating this. Okay. But we have to say, these people were clumped together. Okay. These people were clumped together. Black Canadians, that's the right term to use. But then when we start to play the video, then all of a sudden they're saying African and where everybody derived from. And that's not 1,000% true. Okay, that's just not how it works. There was many other individuals that were clumped together. Okay, all right. Now I use the Aborigine in Australia as an example. These are darker skinned individuals. We can take people from Sri Lanka for another example. These are darker skinned individuals. Okay, why is it that we thought that Native people have to be like this one color or this one look? I I really think that we should be overlooking things and how we are discussing it, and also think that we'll be able to get a little bit more results if we actually knew who we were. Okay, because in none of these single videos that I found in regards to these people speaking about these people, and I want anyone to correct me. Okay, I'm very open to it. None of these people that I found in any of these videos showed me where we came from Africa directly, how we got here, all of the paperwork, all of the things that add up, all of the proof. The proof is what we need, okay? All I am seeing is that there's Black people here, okay? That's all I'm seeing. So here we go ahead. Again, we're going to show you this painting. She's great.
It was made in
She's really great. Let's see what her last name is, because she Nelson. Okay. Again, the thing is like these are very educated people. Like I said, they've done their work, but you don't know what you don't know. And if your books are wrong, your textbooks, like I just said, textbooks that we had to edit and we had to fix. If all your education and all your doctorate has not been radicalized to not have a colonial apparatus, there's going to be certain things that you're going to get a little bit wrong, and you could be pointed in the greatest of directions, and you could have the greatest of intentions, and you have the greatest of education. But if you do not dismantle the colonial apparatus that comes inside those systems, then you will be regurgitating colonialism.
Several reasons. It was made in 1786 by one of Canada's most famous artists, Quebec-born artist named Francois Malpart de Beaucourt. Now, why the work is so bizarre is that it was inherited or handed down to us by the name Portrait of a Negro Slave. This is very odd. Most portraits, and a portrait by definition is a picture of a historical individual who actually lived. So most portraits have the title, which is the name of the person in the portrait, the name of the sitter. This portrait instead had the name that pointed out the status and the race of the sitter, Negro and slave. It's also very odd because it's undoubtedly the most fully finished portrait of a slave in Canada that we know of today. The other thing that's extraordinarily odd is the exposure of her breast. Now, this is also very problematic because it's a hypersexualizing gesture. Her breast is deliberately exposed and juxtaposed with the tray of tropical fruit. This simply would not have happened to white female sitters at the
time. And like I said, amazing information, really powerful information, okay?
Time. White women who are sexualized in this manner were actually then not in a portrait, but would have been an allegorical or mythological figure like a Venus, for instance. Now, why this would happen to this female sitter is precisely because she was a Black female slave. Within transatlantic slavery, Black women were used as breeders of new slaves, and they were actually called breeders by the planters, by the slave owners themselves. Slavery had a matrilineal order.
She's spitting facts. But what happens when there's a little bit of, like little misinformation of where these people actually come from, okay? Because, like I said, I've watched several of her videos that she's in, and she hasn't actually been able to pinpoint certain things. And I've actually watched a few videos, different lessons and stuff of several Canadian scholars, doctors, everyone speaking about it, and they keep doing the same thing. They break down this 12.5 million of slaves and the ones that survived and the ones that came through, and they keep bringing this up. But in Ancestry, when Ancestry just released the name of the ship manifest and all the people, it didn't add up to that. Okay? There is numbers not adding up to things. There are things not adding up, okay? But we'll keep going, okay? Because she has
which meant that any child born to a Black female slave was automatically a slave, regardless of the race or the status of the father. This made rape or sexual exploitation ubiquitous or prolific. Francois Malpart de Beaucourt and his wife, Benoit Gaetan, actually owned 2 slaves in Montreal, one black woman and one black man.
She's so beautiful. She looks like she could be
My
really
research, I've determined that this woman's name was most likely Marie-Thérèse Zamir. Francois and his wife ended up in Haiti, then Saint-Domingue, which was the western portion of the island of Hispaniola, today Haiti, in the 1790s. This was a
super really good, really helpful information. Okay, so we're going to move to the next one. Okay, we're going to do, actually, you know what? We're not going to do this one. I feel like this one is probably going to give me a really good copy. Make sure you guys check out. And then what we're going to move along to is the Japanese internment camps, narrated by David Suzuki. Hopefully, I'm trying to pause this because it sounds like it has a lot of like music in it as well, but it's really, you know, it's groundbreaking. Growing up, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. Early in age, I stopped practicing Abrahamic religions and stuff like that, and fundamental Christianity a very, very long time ago, because nobody could answer my questions about Enoch. Um, none of the elders could. But that being said, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, I was exposed to many different types of elders, and I was able to learn from many different types of people, and that of which many of them were Japanese Canadian survivors of internment camps. Now, this is something that boils my blood because Japan closed down for like 200 years and didn't bother nobody, left everybody alone for 200 years. America's going to go over there, bother them, force them to open up their country when they're minding their own business, and then war and all hell breaks loose. And then you guys then start getting into a war, and then you're going to torture the people that just are living there minding their own business, and they probably wouldn't have been living there if y'all didn't go and bother them in the first place. The thing is if we go ahead and we look at the timeline of when the World War II led up and all the things that happened, and we don't look at the timeline of when Japan was literally disrupted, like they were sleeping, they were minding their own business, they had nothing to do with the world. You know, just leave people be. That's all I gotta say. Leave people be. Okay, we're gonna try this video, okay? I'm gonna skip the intro.
Living in British Columbia. There had been anti-Asian racism for decades, but after the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th,
to Asian Heritage Month.
They were now viewed by many as enemies.
I'm gonna leave this video in the caption. This one has just too much music in it, and I really don't want to the video to get flagged, and then I can't edit it and then post it tonight. So, but what we'll do is we will try to play this one. Hopefully it's less music. I'm gonna speed it. Yeah, let's try that.
And while some memories have faded with age, others remain fresh, like Kai's teaching style.
Oh, you used to be such a strict teacher. Well, I didn't realize it, but I think it's better to be strict. And we always have a good laugh.
That was a little bread.
And there are other memories that stubbornly persist.
Sometimes at the middle of the night, I say, oh, I have nightmares.
Experiences and feelings long repressed to protect her son, Brian Kai.
Well, I think there were times when my parents did not want to talk about it. And when that happened, they spoke Japanese, since I couldn't understand it.
On the morning of December 7th, 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
One Sunday, everybody went crazy.
We cannot punish a people, like an entire people, an entire what? Who do we think we are trying to punish people in the first place?
Bomb. And then I heard, no, you better go inside because they're going to shoot you.
That terror was real. Amid strong anti-Japanese sentiment, 21,000 Japanese Canadians were ordered from the BC coast further inland.
An entire people? Like, do you think that they're going to turn on us? You know, they didn't turn on us, we turned on them.
Kai's family was to be split up. Carrying a rice cooker and sewing machine, they left the downtown Vancouver home her father built.
And the thing is I grew up with many people that were German and Japanese mixed, and they got it worse, like terrible. And this is the thing too, is these families are now getting split up, they're getting separated. This isn't the only situation. Even in the UK, they literally have children I'm going to probably cover this in one of my future workshops for the summertime, probably, but they literally have these people that they grew up without their fathers. They don't know where their fathers went. Okay. All like huge group. And so these people start to create a group and connect and everything like that. And then they start to notice a pattern that their dads all went missing and that they didn't know. Okay. And so then the researchers started to look in because she got these names of people that were deported. Okay. So she started to look through the names and then she noticed it was all these people that their fathers just went missing. Okay. And this is in the UK and this is probably in many other countries. Okay. But the one where I'm referring to, where I have like supporting video and resources for, is in the UK. And the thing is, again, these people, their fathers were taken from them. Now they're able to relocate and reconnect, I mean, with the family. And they've been discussing with the family and connecting. And then they found out that their fathers were literally grabbed off of the street for being too Asian, for being too brown, for being too this and anything, and then deported. And a lot of times, this is how the anti-Asian hate works, okay? They were deporting people to countries and places that they weren't from, that they were not from, okay? They were taking and just grabbing them and just sending them to whatever. Okay, so imagine Japanese people being sent to Korea, then you have Chinese people being sent to Japan. Just despicable, despicable.
With his own two
And
hands.
then we're dealing with people that don't know where their parents are, that don't know where their grandparents are, don't know where their family is.
And joined thousands of others forced into the BC interior.
No newspaper, no radio, no another company. We didn't even know what's going on into the war.
Yoshie Suyama was just 14 when she was sent to Kaslo.
We only moved because they kicked us out. Japs out when the war started.
What was that like, to be told you had to leave New Westminster?
Well, we had to leave. We couldn't say yes or no.
It was not something that we talked about. And I just think that it was maybe too painful for them to relive those memories.
And this is something I don't know a lot of people understand or talk about. And it's just something that I've been granted the fortitude of when I was a kid, I would meet with elders. I met a lot of elders and I would just sit and listen to them. And this is something that I sat and I heard about and I learned about and I asked lots of questions. And it's just heartbreaking that people would have to go through something like this because their country is at war and they have nothing to do with it.
At 17, Jane Zielinski's father, Herb Sakaguchi, was shipped off to Slocan, BC.
We lost our house. Kitsilano, as a matter of fact. It's a nice place, you know.
The government sold their Kitsilano home from under them. In 1988, Canada compensated internment camp survivors $21,000, a pittance compared to today's Vancouver real estate prices.
They did it. We got evacuated. I'm still around. I'm mad as hell, but what can I do? It's finished now.
Who are these people?
So last week we spoke about, not even last week, it was a few days ago. It was a few days ago we spoke about Greenwood, Tulsa, and stuff like that. They don't want people to know these things because guess what? Then people would go ahead and say, hey, you got some things you got to do. You got some reparations to pay. People are just like, oh, well, if we had a basic income and stuff like that, we're not owed a basic income. We're all owed a basic repatriation and reparation. Okay. That's what we're all owed. Okay. So here we go. So historical context. So inside this workshop presentation, you're going to see that I created a little timeline here, okay? Comprehensive timeline of slavery and Indigenous enslavement in Canada with historical context. Pre-colonial, early colonial periods before 1500s. Indigenous peoples thrive across Turtle Island, North America, with diverse cultures and societies. 1500s. 1492, Columbus' arrival in the Caribbean marks the beginning of European colonization, that is the Spanish. A lot of people have an assumption of where Columbus comes from. He's Spanish, y'all, okay? 1500s, Spanish and Portuguese explorers begin enslaving Indigenous people in the Caribbean and the Americas, okay? 1500s, okay? 1534, Jacques Cartier explores parts of what is now Canada, 1600s. The French colonization starts in New France, Canada, with the fur trade developing and involving extensive interaction with Indigenous peoples. Now, understand that New France, not only did the French extend from Quebecois, they went all the way down to Louisiana. Okay, they went through Louisiana and they were intervening into these territories all the way down to where now we get to New Orleans. Okay, we will be able to point out some of these maps in future workshops. Okay, 1608, Quebec City is founded by Samuel de Champlain. Okay, 1663 to 1673, the Filles du Roi, daughters of the king, also known as the king's whores, okay, are sent to New France to marry settlers and indigenous fur traders, aiding in the colony's population growth. That is 800 women, okay, predominantly women that were sent and would be given, I think it was like a $200 stipend if they got married, and then they had to have children in order to get more money. And that was the King of France sent them. And there's rumors as to what kind of women those were that were sent. So let's have an idea that French women, okay, of all skin color, because when we speak about a country, we're not saying one race, okay? When we speak about Spain, we're not talking about one race. When we're speaking about France, we're not speaking about one race. We're saying that 800 women of many different races from the country of France came, okay, and had to mix and mingle with the settlers and the indigenous fur traders, okay? And if they got married to the indigenous fur traders, they even got more money from the king because that meant that they were able to lock in on the indigenous populations and do business with them and then get stake in land. Okay, 1700s, enslavement of both indigenous and African peoples occurs in New France. Indigenous slaves, often referred to as panis, are widely utilized. 1759 to 1760, British conquest of New France. The British continue the practice of slavery, including the enslavement of indigenous peoples. And this is extending all the way into Rhode Island, Maine, and Detroit. Okay, Detroit has a very, very dark history in slavery, as we spoke about before. 1800s, 1793, Upper Canada, Ontario passes the Act Against Slavery, initiating gradual abolition. 1833, slavery is abolished throughout the British Empire, including Canada. And as we have seen and I've spoken about and showed you on my family tree, I just said James Mentis' father was a slaveholder. James Mentis wasn't born until 1800. Okay, so that means, oh, well, not 1800, 1900, apologies. So that means that even though it was abolished, they were having what we call indentured servants, right? But it wasn't like that. There was slavery still going on when you can see even as late as 1910, all the way to what they call the race riots, but which are actually race massacres in Nova Scotia and several different parts of Canada. Okay, so detailed context and comparisons: Indigenous enslavement, Panis, Indigenous slaves in New France, often captured from rival tribes, sold to French settlers, and employed in various labor tasks. Okay, there are resources for these claims. Okay. Fur trade, integral to the economy, indigenous peoples worked as trappers, traders, and guides, essential for the survival and prosperity of European settlers. Filles du Roi, and I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that, I'm not a French speaker, okay, program aimed at increasing the population of New France by sending young women to marry settlers and indigenous fur traders, establishing familial and economic ties. Importance on familial. Indentured servitude versus slavery. Indentured servitude typically involved Europeans working for a set number of years in exchange for passage to the Americas, room and board. They retained some legal rights and were eventually freed. Now, listen to when I said Europeans. Now, when I say Europeans, I don't mean just white people, I mean Europeans, okay? But that also means that scratch out of your head what you believe about Nova Scotian Blacks being anything of an indentured servant. That was straight up slavery, okay? So, slavery involved lifelong servitude with no legal rights, where individuals and their descendants were owned as properties. Now, something that's very important to note, I just said that James Mentis was literally the child of a prominent man in their town in Nova Scotia. This is a prominent power dynamic setup. Okay, this it's not regular. Okay, so we have questions, but we're going to do research. We're going to do our research. We're going to be digging, okay? Transatlantic slave trade context, 16th to 19th centuries. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly transported approximately 12.5 million Africans to the Americas. Historical records, including ship manifests and logs, have documented these numbers, though exact figures are debated comparing to other slave trades. Earlier slave trades, the Arab slave trade, is so funny. I heard Orlando Bloom getting into an argument with Charleston White. My man watches this stuff, so don't mind me, y'all. But he was spitting some facts about slavery, and Charleston White went to fight him. But if I was there, I would have not. Is it Orlando Bloom? Orlando Brown. That's what it is. Orlando Brown, not Bloom. But yeah, if I was there, I would have stood on it for him because yes, slavery has been around a lot longer than what we understand. It is something that's been prominent in many different countries. This is something that we're going to talk about. I actually just shared a video on my Instagram of a lovely, beautiful woman speaking about the Ethiopian slave trade. This is what humans do, okay? So I want us to kind of cancel out, you know, certain beliefs that we have. There's so many nuances to it, so many nuances, and we got to educate ourselves on what it is and these power dynamics that create these things in the first place. Okay, so Arab slave trade, predating the transatlantic slave trade, involved the enslavement of millions of Africans across the Sahara and Indian Ocean to the Middle East and beyond. European slave trade included the enslavement and trafficking of indigenous peoples from the Americas and Africans, contributing to the global scope of slavery. Something as well as the UAE currently has millions of slaves as we speak today. Okay, I've blogged about this on Panacea Cafe where I said that there's probably, I did the numbers of it in 2013. So 2013, the numbers that they did was 20 million. So I can only imagine how many people it is now, but that is not in the UAE, that is worldwide. Okay. Additional context on global slavery, 16th century, the Spanish expelled Sephardic Jews who settled in various regions, including the Americas, influencing the dynamics of slavery and trade. Okay, hold on, let me open this up. Okay, and modern day slavery. Future discussions will explore the ongoing existence of slavery and human trafficking, including origins of African slavery in the UAE, to understand its extensive and continuing impact. Addressing the complexity of ancestry and identity, recent discoveries, genealogical research highlights the complex ancestry among dark-skinned indigenous peoples, challenging previous assumptions and emphasizing their distinct identity separate from African origins. Okay, all of these things are cited, and you can just ask me if you ever need me to back it up. Okay, Chimigwich for being a part of our first cohort of Harmony workshops. Okay, dear Harmony workshops, GEMS participants and supporters. Okay, as we conclude the final Harmony workshop of this cohort, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to each of you for your unwavering support and active participation over the course of these workshops. It's been 3 long months as we navigated through a journey of learning, growth, and creativity, and none of this would have been possible without your involvement. Okay. Reflecting on this journey, we have hosted 33 magic number. Today's the 34th. Okay, workshops together with today's session marking our 34th. Your enthusiasm and dedication have kept the spirit of these sessions vibrant and impactful. Your presence, questions, and shared experiences have not only enriched our discussions, but have also created a community of collective wisdom and mutual support. Hold on. Go back and forth. Okay. Okay. Throughout these workshops, you've channeled into a myriad of topics designed to empower and inspire your creative journeys. I see a void in artists that can only be filled with ability, and these abilities needed can only come into action when it is brought to your awareness. Okay, from music production, songwriting, copywriting, and the intricacies of the music business to the exploration of astrology, AI prompting, and how to create an online boutique, self-publishing, our sessions have been a testament to the vast expanse of knowledge we've covered. Our mission has always been to provide you with the tools, insights, and inspiration needed to achieve harmony and freedom in your creative endeavors. I wanted to teach that it's easier than than the gatekeepers and colonizers would have you think. Okay, we've shared invaluable strategies on making money in various fields, and this means predominantly, like almost everything I've taught you guys is stuff that will teach you to make money from home, from your computer, from your laptop. Okay, a lot of these things are can do, and you can do it while you are like working your 9 to 5 jobs. These are supportive methods. Okay, discussed the importance of storytelling in music, and explored the integration of Indigenous spiritual concepts. Together, we have built a foundation that not only enhances our individual creative paths, but also fosters a deeper understanding of our identities and the systemic challenges we face. A heartfelt thank you goes out to those who have purchased and continue to purchase the replays and workbooks. Your support is invaluable as it not only sustains these workshops, but also extends the reach of our collective knowledge to a broader audience. Your dedication to furthering your understanding and skills through these resources is truly inspiring, admirable, and deeply appreciated. Looking ahead, I am excited to continue sharing new content, insights, and creative endeavors with you guys. Keep an eye out for some new music and animes, okay? Our gem our gem community strength lies in its diversity and the rich tapestry and experiences we each bring. It is an honor to be part of this journey with all of you, and I look forward to our continued growth and success together. Thank you once again for being a vital part of the Harmony Workshop's very first run. Your support and engagement have made this journey truly special, and I am confident that the compounded knowledge we've gained will continue to positively influence our creative paths and bring greater awareness to the issues we hold dear. With deep gratitude and warmest regards, Amethyst Amaris. Free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo, free Yemen. And as always, Shimmikwech. I'm gonna stop sharing. And like I said, make sure you guys keep an eye out for the music. Make sure you guys keep an eye. Ooh, the lighting looks really good right here. But make sure you guys keep an eye out for the music. Make sure you guys are keeping an eye out for the animes that are coming. There's so much stuff. This year, like after this run, 34 workshops. Please, please, please be sharing these everywhere. Y'all know the digital suppression is real, but I am just really, really stoked. I want to share these with so many different facets because this is also part of my peer support work as well. This summer, we will be going to ancestral land and we'll be documenting it. So a lot of this is a precursor to that. A lot of this is also a precursor to many things that we're going to be doing. But until next time, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you guys for the future workshops and everything that we're going to be doing. I can't wait to see you guys for Amethyst List, my variety show. So many things coming up, so many things that are going to be done in a different format, in a different way, a different form altogether. But this is the first of many amazing endeavors that we're going to be on. Okay. As always, Chimikwech, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.